Hello, welcome. I'm going to be talking about some of the popular books I don't like, as the title suggests. Now, of course, this is going to be a more negative video, so I always feel like I need to give a bunch of disclaimers before I start one of these. Even if I don't, it still makes me feel better too, so let's get some things out of the way. First of all, everything is my opinion, completely subjective. I mean, the title of this video suggests these are already popular books, so you don't have to look very far to find people who do like these things. So just want to put that out there. Personally, I still am kind of a newer booktube channel. I mean, I've only been doing this since February. And so I feel like I still, it's still important for me to kind of get my reading taste out and let you know what I do and don't like. So if you want to maybe follow along with my reading or not. So that's kind of the purpose of this video. It's also kind of fun to just get a rant out every now and then. Also, I just want to say this is going to be specific books, not necessarily whole series. I don't even think I have any entire series on my list. Just going to be individual books. Also, I had to constrict myself a little bit and not do any DNFs. If I included DNFs, this would be a very different list. Maybe someday I'll do that, but for now, it's just going to be constrained to books that I've finished. So let's just go ahead and get into this list. I have 10 books here. They're not in any particular order. It's not like my most hated to my least hated or, whatever. I wouldn't say I hate any of these, to be honest. They're just not for me for various reasons. Anyways, number 1 is The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. This is the first book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. And this one was interesting because I actually really liked The Golden Compass, which is the first book in the trilogy, but my interest sort of waned as the series went on. So by the time we got to the very ending of The Amber Spyglass, I wasn't into it anymore. I just thought the whole climax of the entire series, which is at the end of this book, was really dull, just so boring. That's going to be a theme that comes up a lot on this list. You'll see again is boringness. The fact that it was just so anticlimactic, not fun. I was just so let down by this book. I feel like Philip Pullman kind of got lost in his themes a little bit. He started getting pretty preachy towards the end of the series, and I wasn't really having it. I was like, dude, come on. Don't yell at us. Just tell us the story. He prioritized that over good storytelling. Also, as the story went on, I kind of feel like it got a little less imaginative and less fantastical. It just wasn't the same anymore. I think The Golden Compass was so fun and cool and different, and the creativity just took a nosedive, I feel like, with the rest of the series. So I didn't feel as invested anymore. I didn't think it was as fun. And along with that, Lyra's character also took a big nosedive. I just feel like she really lost her way. She was such a strong character at the beginning, and she really lost a lot of that by the end. And she was a cool character. I liked her. So it was sad to see that. So yeah, this one was not good for me. The next book is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series. The Lies of Locke Lamora I read because so many people on BookTube recommend it. And to be honest with you, I think one of the reasons why it fell really flat for me was because a lot of people say if you liked Six of Crows, read The Lies of Locke Lamora. And I wish people would stop doing that because those two books are not that similar. I think you're really setting up the wrong expectations going into The Lies of Locke Lamora. And that was my experience, and I was let down by it. But honestly, I don't know that I would have liked it anyways, even if that kind of comp wasn't set up, because there just wasn't a lot about this book that I liked. I can point to specific things and say that I don't like this. For example, it's very boring. It's really, really slow. The pacing it's not good. I would be interested to see if people say that this is an exciting book. It was so slow to me. It's so boring. The inciting incident itself didn't even happen until page 300 of 700 in my copy. So 300 pages in, almost halfway, is when the inciting incident happened. I couldn't do 300 pages of setup. That was too much. I don't know why I finished this one, honestly. I should have known by that point that this wasn't going to be for me. Just on top of that, I felt like the author spent so much time getting through a scene. I think the book could have been more exciting if you would have just cut down on description and just like these little things that didn't really matter in any given scene, just to make it flow a lot better. But as it was, I was dragging my heels through it. I also think that the characters were pretty weak in this book, which I feel like is very different from what a lot of people say, because a lot of people really love Locke and John especially. And I didn't really feel like I got strong characterization from either of them. So I don't know if that gets better later on in the series, but as of this book, like, I wasn't feeling it as far as the characters go. I think they were kind of fun, but they just didn't have personalities to me. It's like, it felt like their personality traits just kind of changed on a whim whenever the author needed them to. By the end, I just didn't feel like I knew any of them, which is just not fun to me. I obviously didn't continue with the series. I don't ever plan to. I don't like Scott Lynch's writing enough to continue on, unfortunately. So yeah, the third book is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book in the Mistborn trilogy, Mistborn Era 1. I didn't like this one either. I feel like the last one is a little spicy. This one is a little spicy. I'm not the biggest fan of Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to be honest with you. This book though, like, I almost rated it 1 star on Goodreads, but I bumped it up to 3 just because the ending was pretty good. Like, it was a pretty satisfying ending, but it didn't really make me love the rest of the book. I thought this one was way too boring and way too slow. I just complained about that and with The Lies of Locke Lamora. This one was even more egregious. Hardly anything happened, and this was like, I don't know, 700, maybe even more pages. I had the little mass market paperback of it. I was really dragging my heels with this one to get to the finish line. I just kept going because everyone says that the ending is really good, and like, it is a good ending, but I don't think the rest of the book should suffer just to make your ending really exciting. This goes for the rest of the series too. I don't really like the characters in Mistborn, especially the main characters, Vin and Elend. They're so bland and they're just too good at everything. And as I said, the plot moved at a snail's pace, so it wasn't like we had a good plot to make up for the bland characters. I think the first book, The Final Empire, has a really good plot. It moves well, you know, it's faster paced a lot. That one was a lot easier to get through. I actually liked that one quite a bit. And somehow the pacing it was gone here. I think this book really could have used an editor. I wish it had been edited more. Then I probably would have enjoyed it more. So yeah, this one was not good for me either. Let's move on to the fourth book. The next one is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a standalone book. It's not what I was expecting at all. I loved the concept of this one. I loved reading the kind of plot blurb on the back of the book. I thought it sounded so cool and so fun. I totally could have predicted this to be a 4 or 5 star read for me. And I just ended up not liking the execution at all. It just went in a direction I didn't think it was going to go in. Not necessarily like a plot direction, but just like a style direction. The author's writing is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, Erin Morgenstern has such a way with her words, but it wasn't very clear. At the same time, I didn't really know a lot of what was going on. It was almost too abstract and not grounded enough, I feel like. It was just almost like intentionally ambiguous. It was too convoluted for me, and I just didn't like that about it. I'd just be feeling confused all the time. I think she had really strong world building, but everything else was pretty weak for me. Also, the supporting characters in the story almost felt stronger than the main characters, which at least there are some good characters, right? But at the same time, we're with the main characters most of the time. So that was unfortunate. Like, I would have liked to have liked the main characters more. That's always a little sad to me. And also, the romance in this book did not work at all. That's a big part of the book. And I think you really need to buy into that to feel connected to the book and to the story and what the author's trying to say here. But I found that the two leads did not have any chemistry. We barely even see them together on the page, like in the story at all. It's just not enough time for me personally to buy their relationship and get invested in it and to believe it at all. So yeah, this one really boils down to really good writing, really poor execution, at least in my opinion, as far as what I usually tend to like in books. Okay, the next one is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This one, I totally get the hype. I can see why people would be really into this one. I just didn't... I didn't like it very much, honestly. I thought it was very fun and very readable. It was a very easy, just chill read, but that's not really my style. Even in those types of books, I want some sort of drama and conflict. I mean, there was conflict in this book, but I just wanted more of it. Like, I wanted it to be dialed up a little bit more, or at the very least, dig into the characters more. And those things didn't happen. In fact, I found the characters pretty boring. Even Viv, the main character, like, I think the concept of her as a character was cool and something like we really haven't seen before. Well, I haven't seen before in fantasy, especially. I thought it was really unique and creative, but other than the concept, I thought she was a pretty boring character. So it wasn't very fun to me to be following her all this time. Like, I just didn't really care. I don't know if this was just like I wasn't in the mood for it at the time. Like, I need to be more in the mood for a chill read. I don't know. So maybe sometime I'll try this again in the future and I might have something different to say about it. But for now, like, this one just really wasn't for me. Okay, number 6 is Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. That was a tongue twister. I had to really be careful with that one. This one, I got to the end of it and I just really didn't have strong feelings about it either way. I have seen so many people gush about this book, like saying it was really exciting and they loved it and it was so engaging and all this stuff. And I was like, not me. Once I was done with it, I just felt so ambivalent about it. I was like, it's fine. I like the concept of it. You see, this is kind of a thing I'm saying about a lot of these. I like the concept, but not the execution. I like the concept of the world and the magic system. I thought the magic system was really unique, but again, the execution I just didn't love so much. I thought the writing was pretty boring too. The characters were boring. That's another theme, is the characters being boring. I just can't do it. If I don't love the characters, at least a few of them, I'm usually not going to end up liking the book. Also, I just want to say with this one, the treatment of women in this book was not good. It was not great at all. And that's usually something that bothers me, but it's not always something that bothers me to the point where I don't love the book unless nothing else about it was good to me. So that was something that contributed to me not liking this one very much. It's unfortunate, but it definitely left a bad taste in my mouth. All right, book number 7 is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. This one boils down to, I didn't understand the hype. I have heard so many good things about Good Omens. It seems like such a cult classic. Like, it's got a very dedicated fan base that love it so much. And I don't understand what people love about this one. There was one storyline in the book that I was totally here for, and that was the Aziraphale and Crowley, the angel and the demon storyline. And I thought that was going to be a much bigger part of the book than it was. And I think if it was a bigger part, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But as it was, there were too many storylines going on, too much focus on those other storylines, at least for me, in my opinion, and they weren't as fun. Like, I didn't think any of them were as fun as the Aziraphale Crowley storyline. They all didn't hold my interest. The writing of this one was really good, of course. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, of course, are both just wonderful writers. But I almost wonder if the fact that it was co-authored is what made it kind of garbled and messy to me. If it had been written by just one or the other, would I have liked it better? I don't know. Maybe. I'll never know. But overall, I feel like with this one, it was really kind of a case of wrong expectations. But that's not completely my fault, okay? Because the back cover blurb on the book really emphasized the Aziraphale Crowley plot. So, I don't know, man. I think I might try this one again now that I can go into it knowing what to expect. Because if you just want kind of a good time, like just to have like a fun time and not have a super strong plot, then it might be kind of fun. Number 8 is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. Now, this is a book that obviously you don't hear talked about all that much. Like, it's not a new hot thing, you know, it's not blowing up on Book Talk or anything, but it is one of Agatha Christie's best-selling books. Like, I don't think it's her top selling one, but it's up there, you know, it's a very famous one. And I had just come off of reading And Then There Were None, also by Agatha Christie. That was my first book I had read by her, and I wanted to keep going because I really liked that one a lot. And so I decided to pick up Murder on the Orient Express next. And I did not like this one as much. It was just so static in comparison to And Then There Were None. In And Then There Were None, we got to see things happening. We were in the action. We were with all the victims, you know? And in Murder on the Orient Express, we don't see anything happen. We're just with the detective as he pieces together all of the clues. And he doesn't even really do any investigation, I don't think, like not a lot. He mostly just listens to testimonies and, you know, figure out the crime, which like is not fun to me at all. I didn't like that. So we were just hearing about the action the whole time, not even seeing anything. So it was a big letdown. It was not at all what I expected or wanted. And I kind of wonder if this would be good for people who like to try and figure it out themselves, like to try and figure out the mystery and the crime themselves. But for me, as someone who I don't like figuring that stuff out, I like to just let it happen and wash over me. It didn't work for me at all. Okay, number 9. Second to last book on this list is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. He's back on this list again. This is another spicy one. Every time I bring up The Way of Kings, I always talk about how I have this 40-minute long video on my channel where I review it and talk about all the things I don't like. So I will refer that video again, but just to give a brief summary of why I didn't like this one. First of all, I thought it was too long. I mean, I even said that The Hero of Ages was too long, and that was nothing compared to this book. I just thought this one dragged on for way too long. Before I went into it, I kept hearing how it was Sanderson's best work. It's the best thing he's written. Like the Stormlight Archive, not necessarily this book, but the whole Stormlight Archive is the best thing he's written so far. It's so much better than Mistborn, etc. And I personally did not find that to be the case. I think it was more than Mistborn. There was more writing, there was more world building, but I don't necessarily think it was better. I still think The Final Empire was a better book than The Way of Kings. After this one, this really cemented to me that Sanderson is just not the author for me, and that's fine. But I think this one was too slow. Virtually nothing happens in the middle 800 pages. On top of that, the characters were just really dull or dislikable. Like I actively hated some of them. On top of that, all of my previous problems with Sanderson's work were very present here. Sometimes even more so, or like it just bugged me more because the book was so long and I had to be with it for longer. Things like cringy dialogue, writing that beats you over the head, surface level world building, and horrible pacing. All that stuff was here. Yeah, this was not a good reading experience at all for me. Okay, now my 10th and final book on this list is Elric of Melnibone by Michael Moorcock. This book I was so excited for. I went into it so excited. After reading the plot blurb, I thought it sounded so cool. There were so many exciting things that it sounded like were going to be happening, and the character sounded really fun. But once I started reading it, I was just so uninterested. The writing of this book is so dry. There's no excitement at all in the text. There's nothing that like pulls at my emotions or gets me excited or anything. There's no subtext. It's all told so frankly to you. The whole entire story is told so frankly that it's not fun. It wasn't fun to me. I mean, the characters, the world building, the prose, it was all dry. I'm just going to keep reusing that word. It was dry. No amount of a cool plot can make up for that. The characters, again with the characters, I'm going to complain about them here too. They were really boring to me. They all just felt like wooden boards. Like they were nothing. They were one note. I feel like we just weren't given enough of their kind of inner thoughts and wants and motivations to ever make it feel like I knew them or understood them. So that was just really boring to me. I didn't like it. There was just absolutely no personality to this book at all. So anyways, that was my list of popular books that I don't necessarily like very much or am into all that much. I would love to know if you have any popular books you don't like, or if you have any opinions about any of these books. I would like to know that as well. I guess that's all I really have to say about these books, about this concept as a whole. So just have a really great rest of your day. Farewell.